But I think it's a phenomenon that's been happening with, every here and there. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't think there's so much streamers that are super popular. It's just like Celebrity Land where you have a couple that are the stars. But it's impressive.
He's taken his stream out of his bedroom and made it out to on a global scale.
Yeah.
His most recent thing was him being in China and how he exploded the scene. His thing went viral. Woo! Playoffs is upon us right now.
Yes,
God
sir.
damn. Lakers are looking hot right now. Hot fire right now.
My boy
buddy.
Doncic, bro. Like that's my guy. I've always said I like Luka Doncic. I've always been a big fan of him since he came in. I thought he was gonna be like that guy. And
Yeah.
him going to the Lakers, made a big difference, bro. Like I think the Lakers are now secured the 3rd seed.
Yes.
And yeah, the NBA is turning up right now. This is for our sports heads, of course. We're not gonna keep on this topic, but
Yes.
just to brush up on the NBA, a lot of shit's going down. Playoffs are about to start. The weather's nice. You know what time it is. It's that time of the year.
I was gonna say. I told you when Luka goes there, it's gonna be a different situation. They're gonna go up on the leaderboard. You were saying, I don't think it's gonna be much of a change, and they were in 4th prior to Luka, and then when he got there, he helped elevate them at least to two different places. So that was good. He's balling out of control. LeBron's healthy. They're doing a hell of a job. I can't say the same for Anthony Davis, unfortunately. He came back on Dallas.
Yeah.
From his injury that he got when he just first got to Dallas. But again, they're not playoff contenders. Kyrie's down and out. So it is what it is. But speaking of NBA, let's talk about Anthony Edwards and his situation.
Yeah, man.
Wild.
Actually, I did want to talk about this because for those that never heard about it, pretty much it was going viral for like a couple weeks now where Anthony Edwards has this baby moms, right? So he has a couple baby mamas, actually.
4 to be exact.
4. So, and at the tender age of 23.
Can you imagine?
We got 4 baby moms. And Anthony Edwards only, I think, wants the one. I think he has like a one that he's actually in a relationship with, where the other woman, he's not in a relationship with these women. Anyways, the story goes that he decided to pay out one of his baby mothers upwards of $1 million to pay off all his legal fees that's associated with his newborn child.
So that's 216 payments.
That's a 260 payment.
16 payments.
Yeah, lump sum check.
Lump sum, yeah, check. Yeah.
Just on your head top. Bang.
Yeah, bang, yeah. Beat
Done.
it over her head.
Being over his head then.
That's really nothing compared to the grand scheme of things if she starts increasing how much expenditures she needs
that's
and stuff.
nothing in terms of what she potentially
Yes,
could make.
yes.
But I want to just talk about just that fact. The fact that he's 23, he's in a situation where he doesn't want to parent this kid, but at the same time, you know how it is in this country. It's my body, my choice. So if the woman decides, the woman has the ability to decide whether she keeps the kid or she chooses a different, deletes, whatever you want to call it. Now, since she has that choice and she chose to keep the kid, do you believe Anthony Edwards should have a right to pay it up front, or does he still have to deal with the responsibilities of being a father?
Well, let's speak on my body, my choice. I think there's a fallacy in that because we live in a so-called egalitarian society, right? And when you live in that, you would think it's going to be 50-50 equality should be there, apparently. But if it is my body, my choice, on a male's point of view, it should be my finance, my choice. So if you continue to go forth with having an unwanted child, the male should be able to withdraw his finances for whatever comes next.
What do you mean withdraw his finances? So not participate in paying towards the child?
Yes.
He should have that right?
I think he should have that right. They if they do have a child, it should be an agreement on both parties. And if not, well, both parties should be, if they don't want the child, I think both parties are at fault. Because one, he's obviously not practicing safe sex. And then two, she's also not practicing safe sex. So that's how the child is born. Now, they have to find a way to cut it through the middle, because in one sense, if she wants the child, she can have the child. But if she doesn't want the child, she can abort the child. But if he wants the child, regardless if he wants the child and she doesn't want the child, she can still abort the child. And if he doesn't want the child, she can still have the child. So in that sense, there's no real equality in that.
But again, are you arguing equality?
So
You're saying men and women should be equal?
No, so what I'm arguing is that if we are living in an egalitarian society, if she's willing to have the child, and she should not expect financial aid from the man she had the child for, especially if he doesn't want to be part of the child's life. That's what I'm saying. Because she decided to go on to have the child, even when he expressed he didn't want the child.
But regardless, in the situation of, like, say, a child being born, there's still responsibility. Regardless of you thinking you could walk away, there still will be a responsibility legally in any country. Like, there'll still be a degree of responsibility. Now, here's the thing. If the woman decides to keep it or not, and if obviously the law supports these things, right? So the law has made these rules how it is.
Ironclad, yeah.
So people understand the rules. And you understand that my finances, my choice is not an option for you.
Yes.
So that's thinking very naively, because that's not an option. And the law doesn't support something
I know
like
it
this.
doesn't support that. I'm just saying, figuratively speaking, because that's not a...
You're saying that would be the like...
If we live in an egalitarian society...
But what I'm saying is, in that situation,
Yes.
because you have to defend your point, because if that's the case, then where does the responsibility lie on fathers? If both sides can be irresponsible, then where does it lie? Like, there's going to be no responsibility then in any child rearing, any creation of families.
Well, then if that's the case,
because you can opt out at any time as well.
Why do we have adoptions centers? Why do we have adoption centers? That's because there's parents that have neglected their responsibility of a child, right? And then adoption centers take those children and they raise them for the state.
That's more of an option.
So,
yes, if that was an option.
If that's the option, then it's like, well, I'm gonna have this child regardless. But it's like, okay, but I need to depend on your financial aid. No, you're not gonna depend on my financial aid. If you can't support the child, there's always an adoption center. If that's how you feel. But you're not going to put the onus on me when I'm telling you I don't want the child. So that's what I'm trying to say.
Okay, that makes sense. The adoption theory, I guess that's not something promoted in society, but technically that would be the way to go. Now, someone can say they're emotionally tied to the child.
Before the child's born, I'm talking about before all that. I'm talking about he already said I don't want the child before it's even conceived, before it even becomes a fetus. We've had this conversation.
You're talking about that type of thing.
We've had that conversation, but you still said, no, I'm going forward with that before the emotional attachment and stuff of that sort. Yeah, as you go down the rabbit hole, it's going to become more tougher to
it becomes more tougher.
Yes.
For sure in that situation, but I want to speak towards Anthony Edwards, because obviously, in your opinion, that's how it should go.
Yes.
But the reality is, if you have that thought process, you should be smart enough to know to use contraception. You're not going to theorize all these things after the fact, because after the fact, you have no leverage. Now it's here, and you have to deal with it as you may, right? So that could be you either taking responsibility or not taking responsibility. But if you don't take the responsibility of actually being there and actually fathering the child, should you be able to pay off your responsibility? Because you are arguing that the man should have the option of not taking the responsibility, because if a woman doesn't want the child, she can just abort it and not take that responsibility. So you're saying a guy should have that equal right. I understand that. But if we don't have that equal right to say that we can have a kid and not have the responsibility, and we still have to pay, should we be allowed to pay it up front as Anthony Edwards is doing, where he pays the 216 monthly installments for the child, then can opt out of actually being there for the child? Because the understanding is that I will take the responsibility of paying the fees it costs to have a child, but I don't want to father the child because it wasn't made out of love, or I was in a relationship with this girl, whatever the case may be.
So what I would say is this. If the court system is allowing this to happen, then that's what it can be. If the court system says that it can't happen, well, then that's what it will be.
But what's your opinion on that being a right to somebody? Do you think that should be a right for somebody to say that? There's not many men that can do this, but I'm saying if you average it out based on a certain income at that time you're making, should you be able to pay off up front an entire child just like you'd pay off an entire car or whatever,
this will be
entire house?
It's definitely controversial, but determining on the type of relationship that you may have with the mother, and if it's destructive or she's not really sane in the sense of like mentally she's unstable and or she's an alcoholic or she could be a drug addict.
This happens, by the way.
Yeah, so it's all in context, right? It just all depends on what the situation is. I do believe that if you're able to pay off the individual, then that should be allowed. That should be allowed where you can wipe your hands clean. Whereas I don't want nothing to do with her because maybe she's a whore in a brothel or you know what I mean. So there can be so many different situations where it's like I just don't want. I'll pay you off. I'll pay for the kid how much it takes to raise a child, but nothing more, nothing less.
I think that's what a lot of men do just naturally. I think not
That's
even
a commodity.
to that level.
I know a lot of people think it's controversial, but it's a commodity like any other.
No, it's not as controversial as you're saying. The thing is, people, what they're
Well,
gonna
they
get,
make it to
what they're gonna get this mistaken with is that he's paying it all up front compared to somebody paying it throughout the years through the court system, family court system, because the state or the law or the wherever you're at, the city, whatever state, country, they will enforce a law that you have to pay child support, for example, right? So technically, they're just installments you have to pay. The law doesn't require you to actually be a father and be in the child's life. That's how the law works. So technically, they allow you to have a child and not face any consequences as long as you pay the piper. If you pay the monthly installments, everyone gets their paid. They're third party. They're third party, so they get paid on top of it too. So they win, and you're responsible for the child. Where the state doesn't need to be responsible for that said child. But the state really more cares about money than the family dynamic, especially in certain communities, right? So I would believe that sounds legal enough to me that you can just pay it up front, because a lot of people just pay their child support because they're obligated, right? They don't want to be necessarily in that position, but the state has forced them. So in my opinion, when it comes to someone like Anthony Edwards and this story of him just throwing the million at her head top, I'm under the impression that what else is there to do if you are under the understanding this guy doesn't want to be a father? I don't think you can force someone's hand. So I'm under that belief that that's actually a better solution than men maybe just not taking responsibility. That'll
definitely viable, a lot more viable.
That'll never be an option where men can't take responsibility for children that they've helped create, because they always will put responsibility on men. That's just what we are. That's who we are. So we'll never be able to get away with that, but unless we move countries and change our name. But when it comes,
so it's definitely possible.
It's possible.
There's a escape route.
Yeah,
if you're willing to be extreme,
and how slimy
if you're willing to be extreme, there are ways out.
There's ways around the system as always. But yeah, I think paying it forward, it sounds crazy, but I think the bigger point of this is that, you know, at the age 23, making the money he's making, putting himself in these stressful situations, is it worth it? So what's your thoughts in terms of like decision making? And when it comes to sex, because a lot of us, you know, he's 23, but at 23, you can argue some people understand to use contraception and others just don't, and even older ages. So what's your thoughts on that? Because I'll be honest, nowadays, when it comes to contraception, like, it's not really promoted as it was back then. I think the fear of pregnancy is not as high as it was before, or even STDs, honestly.
Yes. Speaking on that, well, the thing with Anthony Edwards is not only that he's 23, we have to look at what he does as a whole, right? He influences a lot of young kids coming up, right? Especially black young guys that are that have aspirations to get into the NBA and so on and so forth. That type of what would be considered as a role model, because I believe he's under Adidas.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Big marketing dollars in him.
Exactly. So he's endorsed. So he represents a brand, and people buy into that brand. And people also see him as a leader because that's how he's promoted, to be a leader. He's a good player because only really great players can be really endorsed, right?
Yeah.
You have to be special
some cachet,
in your field,
character.
some cachet, some character for you to be endorsed. Because if you don't have that, then no one's looking your way. You're just another ordinary player. So when you got players like that hold a certain level of stature in the industry, in whether it's in sports or in acting or as a comedian or so on and so forth, there has to be a level of etiquette that is presented to the world. Because you no longer I feel like when you sign on the dotted line, you no longer represent only yourself, and you cannot only think of yourself. Because if you want, there should be a clause. If you want to get into a certain industry, you need to carry yourself in a certain way, because a lot of people are now looking up to you. You've now intentionally but unintentionally have become a superstar, right? Because you wanted to achieve a certain dream, which you are doing, but that comes with a burden and it comes with sacrifice. And that sacrifice needs to be made on the player's behalf, because you're not only playing basketball, you also represent everybody that comes after you, that looks up to you. And when you make dumb decisions and you have 4 baby mamas, and you're showing the young guys that are coming up that it's okay to have multiple baby moms. Going to court and fighting these cases is just a natural process of life. So you're breeding new Anthony Edwards, not necessarily intentionally, you're just being you.
Yes.
But but you're not looking at what kind of damage you're creating for the new upcoming guys.
Yeah, so his actions have a bigger reaction than obviously counterparts of people that aren't famous. But the damages are still the same. Obviously, encouragement of, like, you know, doing whatever you want pretty much without consequence, right? Of course, he can pay himself out. Like I said, this is not going to be a standard for everybody, but obviously if you have that type of money to pay it up front, you could do that, right? But normal people can't do that. You can't just run away from responsibilities. They actually have jail time for certain, you know, child support checks, or the system, depending on what's owed, and et cetera, et cetera. So what I take from this whole story is that athletes, especially in our community, by default, they are role models. And I say by default is because the most marketing dollars, and then usually owned by white business people, they usually promote these black folks, right? And they put a lot of money towards promoting these black folks. So, of course, naturally, the youth is going to pay attention to what's going on. Forget about the adults. Adults know better. They're not going to be doing what Anthony Edwards is doing if they're 30 plus. Like, you know, chances are they're smart enough and all that. But if you're younger, that's who you're following. And again, like you said, 4 baby moms, paying it up front, this, that, you know. And
living like a rock star.
Living like a rock star. And we understand that celebrities are rock stars. They do live like rock stars, and every celebrity lives like rock stars. We've heard of, obviously, the Magic Johnsons of the world. But again, look where his life still ended up going good. But again, look what problems he put on himself just because of, what he was up to. But again, when it comes to that type of thing where Anthony Edwards is not necessarily responsible or not trying to be accountable for his actions, I just think that in the Black community, it's more of an issue that unfortunately we can't really do anything about it because you said it's you being you. And how do you correct someone being themselves if they don't know any better or they don't care to necessarily be a role model because they're playing a sport? They're not politicians. They're not scholars. They're not educated to that level to understand that their actions have a rippling effect. So my whole thing is when it comes to role models in the Black community, we also have to pick and choose who we're following. If someone's dribbling a basketball, that's an entertainment field kind of thing where most people don't fit into that category. So you can't look at them with the same lens as a regular civilian. The decisions that they make that may be stupid, they might be able to dig themselves out that hole. You, on the other hand, can't live your life according to their principles. So what I'm saying is they have to be loose role models. Follow the things like their work ethic, their attention to detail, stuff that pertain to their field and what they're doing. But I think when it comes to personal life, we have to stop idolizing certain guys and certain people because their personal life seems to be a lot more chaotic than, than you can imagine. And most of the times, you wouldn't want to live their life behind the scenes.
Yes, and that brings me to another point when it comes to these athletes and actors, comedians, stuff that has to do with the entertainment field and how much now, speaking of that, with pseudo celebrities, where now we're talking about not only YouTubers, now it's streamers that are huge and people are looking up to, and the way they're promoted in society, where it's almost like nothing else exists in terms of occupations and what you can do, because not everybody can be some kind of celebrity or some kind of athlete or some kind of comedian, just being in the entertainment field. Some people are just not naturally creative, you know what I mean? So it just doesn't fit who they are.
Talents,
they just don't have those talents. But they can be gifted in school and education. They can be gifted at mathematics or being a linguist, just good at learning multiple languages.
Absolutely.
But a lot of these things aren't promoted to the general public because that's deemed to not be cool, right? They want people to take the hardest path because it's such a small amount of people that really make it big in the entertainment field, right? Even if they make it in the entertainment field, it's only a small amount that actually go above and beyond superstardom, where people are following them around, they're doing the most. And speaking on that, Speed, ISHOWSPEED, a streamer, even Kai Cenat, Drewski, but ISHOWSPEED specifically, Speed. He's one of the newer generations. He's a streamer. He started off as just a Twitch player. So you're playing FIFA. Then he graduated to playing basketball off the streams, and then from just playing in his room video games, he somehow became known to many people worldwide. Then he started meeting Cristiano Ronaldo, and all these different people. I swear he met Messi. He met certain people that are huge in the celebrity world or in the athletics world.
Yeah, for sure.
And he's taken his stream out of his bedroom and made it out on a global scale. Yeah. His most recent thing was him being in China and how he exploded the scene. His thing went viral. He went to China, did a China tour. He also went to Mongolia, did that. Completely took him to new heights, because at the time I first seen Speed, it was they're neck to neck. Kai Cenat, Speed, they're neck to neck. They're doing two different things, but they're both streamers. But I felt like when he just made his leap recently, doing the China tour and doing the Mongolia tour, was now almost like a travel vlog and showing people, educating people and showing them different places geographically,
Yeah.
it took them to a whole new heights. And we're going to show a video about that. But what's your thoughts on the new superstars that are coming out, that are pseudo celebrities, and the traditional celebrities that we grew up seeing?
Well, there's more opportunity for people. So I think what happened is people took the steps early in the early stages of like a lot of the social media stuff, especially like the iPhone hasn't been around for that long. And I feel like when the iPhone got created, you know, you get the advent of like, you know, Instagrams and the TikToks and all these different platforms. And people that started early, they took advantage of these platforms. And it's crazy to see like streamers that play video games and stuff like that. They're getting a lot more popularity than these traditional celebrities. I would argue that these so-called pseudo-celebrities are more celebrities than the people we're calling celebrities because they're getting all the access, right? At the end of the day, people tune into them for every move they make. A celebrity, you only tune into them most of the time is if they're playing a sport or if they're on the big screen. So they have to have a movie dropping or a TV show that's popular. And that's a lot harder to have. They have to rely on the writers of the show, the directors, the type of show, the platform it's on, et cetera.
They need
et cetera,
a big
et cetera.
budget.
Big budgets, all these different things to help the success, what role you're playing, et cetera. Now, for streamers, people are interested in their day-to-day. Now, the bigger you get, you can even do more. So obviously, if you have money and influence, it's even better because you can showcase your personality. People already gravitate towards that. And then it's like almost like a life vlog. So these guys, like, basically you track their lifestyle.
Yes.
So I would argue they're bigger celebrities, but I would say at the same token, they have to do a lot more work to be visible.
100%.
And I'm not so sure I would love to be in that field of having my whole life documented and having to be so personal and you know, everyone knows me and stuff like that. But I think it's a phenomenon that's been happening with, you know, every here and there. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't think there's so much streamers that are super popular. It's just like Celebrity Land where you have a couple that are the stars. But it's impressive what they managed to do because they're becoming so influential is what I'm starting to see. And they're sitting in rooms with these big name people, whether it's, you know, Trump, you know, it could be, what else people do they sit around with? Other celebrities that are doing big things.
Joe
Rogan's, the Dana
Mike
Whites,
Tyson,
the Mike Tysons.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I've seen so much interviews with like these kids, usually they're young, and they have interviews with some guys that should be nowhere near them. Andrew Tate. People that shouldn't be in the same room with them. What you would assume they wouldn't be in the same room.
Not when the traditional celebrity how it was working before. Yeah. It would take so much effort to get to these places,
them, and
right?
the celebrities wouldn't even necessarily
speak to them directly. With them, somebody else
engage with them because they would know like you're kind of like a fake celebrity. But I think even celebrities now want to be with the streamers because the streamers are who's popping because they're always relevant.
I think
it's the relevancy of them always being relevant.
I think, well, now they call it X. I think when Twitter first came out, that was the first bridging the gap moment where people were able to engage with
celebrities,
their favorite celebrity, right?
100%.
They were like arm width apart.
Yeah,
right?
You can message them.
You can message them and so on and so forth, and then Instagram and all. Facebook. I don't even think Facebook really had that level of interaction that you can do it, but I felt Twitter was the one where it was kind of you're getting closer.
Bridge the gap a little bit.
Bridge the gap, like because a celebrity would put a tweet out, you can retweet, and you know you could somehow.
Then
get to
Instagram really bridged the gap.
Instagram really bridged the gap with DMs, right?
You can message anybody.
You can message anybody, so it did that. That was a big thing. I think for streamers, I think the reason why streaming is becoming such a phenomenon for younger generations is because they're watching these streamers from when in the early stages of streaming. So it gives this level of a reality that they can emulate because they're
especially based on not much talent.
Not much production.
Yes.
Very budgeted, right? Where they can just kind of go to the store and buy certain things, ask their parent to buy a
mic,
little bit
a
of
video,
a little bit of
you know,
equipment.
yeah,
Nothing
game
crazy.
chair.
Game chair. You have your screens
Yeah.
or whatnot. It's very feasible. You can create something of your own, and then what? I just got to sit around playing video games and show my reactions. I got a camera on me, and I'm showing my reactions. I'm talking shit on the video streams and whatnot. And then if people start liking your personality, now you're starting to grow. So that it gives them a realistic view of it's possible that I can be a celebrity.
But I want to understand the point of those guys, though. One thing I do want to talk about, like, for example, we're talking about these pseudo celebrities, but are they not just entertainers?
I do believe they're just entertainers.
Like, that would be their talent, is that they just can entertain people.
I mean, prior to Speed going to China and Mongolia, what has he taught people about his streaming? Because he's living crazy. I don't know if you've seen any of his streams.
No,
like,
I've seen.
He starts barking. He starts doing backflips.
Well,
like,
that's what I'm kind of trying to wonder with, like, some of these guys that get popular. I just asked, so what's the worth of their value? Like, so they're this influential, and I said they have influence even bigger than celebrities. Yes. But what I notice about streamers or people that are pseudo celebrities, I mean, there's some that promote a message. Obviously, you have the Andrew Tates and the different guys that have their own message that they're promoting, and, you know, programs and all this stuff. But then you have guys that are just streaming to stream, because I'm not under the impression, you know, Speed is selling a course on how to be successful.
Yes.
Or how to start up a streaming business. Like, he's not selling those type of things, but he's just showcasing his personality, and he's getting all this.
But it's the same with Aiden Ross. He's not doing
any
that
of these
either,
guys that are big, like, they're not doing anything that requires, like, talent or consistency or anything outside of the streaming side of things. But I just wonder, with that influence, like, what is it all worth? I mean, are they people, like, do people look up to these people as well? So, because, I mean, kids look up to these guys. Like, people watch them, as you said, because they come from humble beginnings. They started in their room. So a lot of people that were young or, you know, around the same age, they're going to look at those guys like, damn, like, I aspire to be him. But it's like, aspire to be what exactly? Because at the end of the day, when you're just entertaining, you're just entertaining. Like, when
they don't actually have a niche. Like, you can't put them in a category. You can't put them in a category per se. You know what I mean?
Like, of course, these platforms are gonna exist, but obviously, people ask the question, well, how about if this platform doesn't exist anymore? And it's like, well, we'll think about that when it doesn't exist.
I mean, no. What they do is they typically pivot. When Vine was big, eventually when that closed down, they just pivot.
People just pivot and all
people
that.
Pivot
type
all
of thing.
the time.
But I just wonder what their worth is in terms of influence, because they don't really promote anything, but they do at the same time.
They do. Well, I'll say what their worth is. They're able to. However, it's not really. There's no real foolproof way of getting eyes on you. Like, nobody has the formula of how to get multiple eyes on you and how to get multiple views on you.
Yeah, for sure.
But the fact that they're able to leverage that and somehow get so much eyes on them gives advertisers and gives companies a leg up, because what they need is people to pay attention to a specific individual. So now, if Speed was smart, or if his team was smart enough, this is where you start promoting ISHOWSPEED products. Now you got the ISHOWSPEED T-shirt. You got the ISHOWSPEED socks. You just do a whole merch line, because he has so much eyes on him. Why are you promoting somebody else's brand? And this is what we were talking about.
Because these are black men too.
Yes.
But they don't have any brand. Like, they're streaming under the guise of a company.
Yep, and especially speaking of, like, not having their brand, Ashton Hall. He comes in, he does his.
Hold on. He's speeding.
Okay, I'm speeding right now. Before we break down Ashton Hall,
You gotta talk about the morning routine.
We gotta talk about
what's up with the morning routine.
Well, first of all, let's talk about who Ashton Hall is.
Okay.
So Ashton Hall is, I guess now I would consider him as a pseudo celebrity, because he did something that went viral. So Ashton Hall is a former football player. I'm not exactly sure what school he went to, but that's irrelevant. But he was big in the fitness community. He's a fitness influencer, also a fitness coach. He does a lot of videos where he's promoting his physique, his aesthetics, and how he conducts his life, right? And him being a fitness influencer, his main focus is on fitness lifestyle and how people should kind of live their life as a fitness influencer, right? And he does multiple videos, and I've seen multiple videos that he's done. And he does amazing videos just because he has the aesthetic for it. But the one video that he did was a morning routine.
Yeah,
right.
That hit the web.
Hit the moon and back. Right. He woke up 3 a.m. He had so much stuff going on. Wakes up 3 a.m, goes out into his balcony, does some push-ups, comes back in. Before we even did all of that, 3 a.m, he gets up, goes inside the washroom. He has tape on his mouth.
Yeah, tape on his mouth.
People are trying to understand what's going on with the tape on the mouth. He has a tape on his nose. He has something on his nose, whether it's tape or something.
It's for sinuses.
Yeah, sinuses or whatnot. So he doesn't snore or whatnot.
Breathes clearly.
Yes, exactly. So he takes that off. Tape comes off first. Nose, has the bottle. He has a bowl of water, ice water, puts his face in it. Not really sure what the remedy of that is.
No, you never. And then, I'm not sure about that. But then the banana.
Then the banana, takes out the banana, uses the banana peel, starts wiping his face, does all that, goes outside on the balcony, does his push-ups, comes back in. He had a whole routine. I can't even really go through.
Can't even get to it. Jumps in the pool. Yeah. But it seemed like to be ridiculous.
Yeah, so he does. Basically, the routine took about 6 hours. Like, he spent like 4 to 6 hours doing this routine. And people looked at that routine.
It was a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah, it was a whole lot of nothing. And then he goes on to do a consultation call. But the point of the matter is, people thought it was so ridiculous and the routine was so crazy that they had to make a meme out of the routine.
Yes, and here's where we go viral.
And this is where he went viral, because the way to go viral is the amount of people that share your content.
Yeah, exactly. And they picked up on the ridiculousness of it.
Yes.
So people started to remix it.
Yes.
Do their own version of it. And there's so much ways you can do it. It was a good concept. And a lot of people had their own morning routines, which were hilarious, because they'd do like the total opposite. Like they'd show the routine like of an alcoholic or of
But it was
whatever.
actually really great for him aesthetically, because when they know Astronaut, when they see him, that's what he's represented as. It's not like he did something goofy.
No, he never did nothing that's goofy. It just,
Yeah.
I think people thought it was very ridiculous, or they felt that if I did this, would this really? Oh, this is all I need to do to change my life. It seemed ridiculous that routine, he's marketing it as if that's why he's successful.
Yes.
That's where it comes down to. He's marketing that exact
As I said,
routine.
it was perfect.
Yeah, he's
perfect,
marketing that exact routine to say, this is why I'm where I'm at in this nice condo complex.
I'm driving the
making
Bugatti
calls,
and whatnot.
talking about, we're only at 10K, 15 tomorrow. Like, driving a nice car, jumping out a Beamer. And he has, if you go to his page, he actually has like a lot of content.
That's what I'm saying. He didn't come out of nowhere.
No, it didn't come out of nowhere. He had his track record, but it's just funny about that whole morning routine, because it sparked the whole conversation. I've seen the shit everywhere I look, dude.
Yes.
On regular TV shows, like TV programmings, whether it was like like sports analysts talking about stuff like that, news channels, they're putting the shit everywhere. So I'm like, damn, this really got viral. But what was the underlying thing you got from the whole morning routine thing, it being viral, you seeing it, all these different spaces? What did you take from all of that? Because it went viral, but it wasn't like a funny video. It wasn't nothing to be like, that's stupid, or like, it was more so, okay, it's kind of ridiculous, but definitely something someone could do theoretically. Nothing too crazy he did in the morning. But when you see something like that and people having these extreme morning routines, do you think this is the path for success? Because he was marketing as the path for success. He showed also videos of him before he did the routine, and then he's playing like video games and stuff of that nature. But he still was in good shape, of course. So what's your thoughts on the morning routine, having extreme morning routines, like to that degree, locking in? Because a lot of these gurus, life coaches, sometimes seems like they do some extreme shit
Yes.
that normal people probably won't keep up with.
I think my thoughts and what I got out of it, to be honest, there's no real rhyme or reasoning when it comes to the algorithm and what people find entertaining and whatnot, because we got people that go viral for funny videos. We got people that go viral for silly videos. We got people that go viral off, like Ashton Hall, a routine that he did. We got people that go viral off a dancing video, right?
Yeah.
So I'm saying there's no rhyme or reasoning to the algorithm and what it picks up and what is deemed to be grade A viral content. This is genius marketing. It's not like he woke up and said, I'm going to do this video. Everyone's going to love it. It's going to go viral. People are going to be spreading it. He's sitting there like, what is going on? I've been doing videos because you have to understand, he was already in the mill when it comes to followers way before that video. So
yeah, it's in the millions.
So now you go on his videos and you're looking through all his videos and what he's been doing, and there's similar videos to the one he did. Now, if I was a marketer, I'm trying to figure out what the heck did I do different here that made this video go viral and all these other videos never went viral. Because I'm goddamn confused. What was it that, broke the camel's back? It's just like we have a video that went viral, like now it's at like 175K. And we're sitting there like, okay, it went viral in one platform, but I have the same video in four other platforms or something, three other platforms, and
there's a lot of randomness there. There's a lot of randomness there, especially with even like that situation. Yeah, that one I really truly didn't understand.
I'm super
the morning
confused
routine.
Today.
I seen it as like ridiculous, but not enough to like mimic or mock it or anything of that nature. I just would see, oh, he's a content creator. He's creating this content.
Yeah,
like, that's all I'm gonna look at that as. Because we're in that era where people create videos trying to be cinematic. People create dumb videos, like, just to showcase that they went to, like, so, for example, when they showed that video, they brought back an old school video that they were memeing where the guy sets up his whole day. He's just a normal guy, but he's like, he basically recorded himself just getting up, going to a grocery store and like coming back. And then they're like, you mean to tell me you set up a tripod at every... So, like, they were just, like, making fun of that.
Yeah.
So they brought it back, and they're like, oh, Ashton Hall has competition now. So, like, they compared the two videos because it's funny. And I think that was the thing of the morning routine. The fact that, he has this, like, white woman's hand giving him the jar of the glass, and then he puts water in the glass and puts the ice, and then she's giving him stuff and all that kind of weird
everything
eeriness, like of what the hell's going on, like
them taking his robe off.
Yeah, I think it was more like, who is this guy? Like, is he a billionaire? Like, it's like, who is he? I think it brought intrigue, like, this is what kind of morning routine? What exactly?
Like, what kind of pompous, arrogant?
Like, it seemed kind of ridiculous, over
narcissistic
the top.
individual is this?
Very over the top, very much into yourself, that type of thing. So I think that's why it went viral. But again, I think people were hating on it. Maybe that's why it went viral. People were just like, this guy's a goof, right? People were hating on it. Maybe that's why it went viral, because people like to hate on shit. So just to say, you don't know what's going to go viral when it comes to this shit. When it comes to social media, when it comes to all this stuff, even like you said, speed, all these streamers and stuff of that nature. Yes, some people started late in the game. Some people start early in the game. But to be fair, it seems like there's no rhyme or reason to why people get more, like, to extreme level of popularity. It's not like an actor or a rapper when you're basing it on skills and success off selling an album. There's no real proof of why this guy's more successful than that guy.
Yes.
Like, so I don't know how you quantify the difference between all of the people in the space because it's like an ecosystem. Wherever the ecosystem is shining the sun, that's where the leaves, that's where the grass will grow. And then if you're in the shade, then unfortunately you're not gonna grow.
You know, it's interesting. The only commonality that I think is the reason for why certain people do succeed in the content space is the level of commitment and consistency to their craft. And
that's part of it.
And it compounding over time, because
that has to be part of it.
It has to be part of it.
But
Where do you have a little sprinkle of luck that hits you with the compound interest
Absolutely.
effect? That's what I think happens, where they stay in the game long enough for people to finally look at your stuff and say, okay, I deem it worthy. After a couple years, it's like, you know what? Actually, he had something, right? You were just telling me about G Herbo.
Right? Yeah, recreating,
repackaging
your yourself.
Yeah, so explain that what he did.
No, just generally speaking, like artists, celebrities, like musicians, what they do is, say they had an old record that they released that was very popular, and they're still making music in this day and age. Guys will go back to their old album and maybe re-release it, but drop new music under the same banner of that album. So Lil Wayne has done this as well, and other artists have done this as well, just to bring the old feel back. And I think that's necessary to recreate yourself, but also draw back from what's made you popular, right? But you recreate and you keep moving forward. That's usually like how that works, especially if your formula is maybe not working for you, then you have to recreate for sure.
Yes. So, but it's funny because even when your formula is working, people still recreate themselves. Like I was talking about Speed.
Yeah.
Actually, I want to go to a video that we were, that has Speed going viral pretty much. Aiden Ross, he's talking about, Aiden Ross and actually Academic are talking about Speed's tour to China. And what their thoughts were about China prior to him going, and just what he's doing on a global scale. Like they're like really praising him because he has transcended what it meant to be a streamer, just based off what he did. Funny thing is, he's not the only streamer that has been overseas and trying different countries.
I think a lot of streamers have
Kai Cenat went to Nigeria. He did his thing. He got a lot of like good reviews from it and so on and so forth.
But I think we're in that day and age,
Drewski,
right?
he went to Jamaica.
We're in that day and age.
The pasa pasa type of thing.
A lot of people went and traveled. And
that's what I mean. But I guess because they both went to black countries, it wasn't as prevalent. It wasn't as potent and powerful as Speed going into Asian country as a black man, because it kind of gave me the Chris Tucker feeling. If you looked at any of it, it gave me Rush Hour. It gave me Rush Hour when I was watching them,
especially for black people. I think that's what made it a little bit different, because when has a popular like black streamer, young guy going to these places, it makes a difference.
Yeah. So we're gonna play that video.
Bro, I ain't gonna lie, bro. Speed is. Can I be real with you?
Yeah.
I think he's the most famous influencer on the internet. And I'm going to tell you why I think
that's fair.
It's fair, right?
Of course.
And by the way, I want to give...
Other dudes in flying cars.
Yeah. And we're trying to look lit because of Speed.
Speed's doing amazing content. But these countries are rolling out the red carpet to help change even U.S. Perception about them. Whether it's propaganda or not. They're rolling, like, I seen countries that I thought were shitholes. I won't call their name.
Right.
When Speed go over there, it's lit.
Lit.
Yo, certain places I'm like, you couldn't pay me to go. Now I look at him like, yo,
Speed can go anywhere.
He should be a global ambassador for everything.
Everything. He made it look like China is a very, very awesome, safe place. And honestly, there's propaganda around China.
I used to be thinking it's all sweatshops.
Me too. China looks lit.
Nah, this shit look like it was in the future.
Like, it really looks lit. I'm not gonna lie, bro. When it comes to Speed Chat, he really is him. He's doing it. He's doing this so well.
See, that's interesting because, like, obviously, these guys are talking about like, yeah, like a lot of places he went to, they would have viewed them as shitholes. But of course,
Well,
this
with the
guy's-
propaganda, right there.
yeah, with the propaganda, without
that's
knowing
what
what's there,
Yes.
they say that. But and then at the same time, I'm kind of like, you can research all the places you go
You
to.
could.
Like, we're not in
So the level of laziness.
yeah, the
too.
level of laziness and ignorance. Well, that can't be helped, right?
Yes.
And at the end of the day, if you need a speed to show you China was like
Lit.
I can understand the masses, but like generally speaking, people should know that by a certain age. I mean, they're a little bit older. Maybe if you're talking about younger generation, yes, they won't know the difference possibly, but that's interesting that they got that from him. So I can't even take that away from Speed. If he's influencing even these guys to be like, damn, I would go there, and he must have some influence over people.
The funny thing is, because I lived in China, you know, the way he showed it, it was just like how I felt about China, right? And it's hard for me to express that to people because they have no idea like what China represents, right? Until you actually go to China, you don't know how it is, right?
Me, I had a different impression.
We all have our
of
preconceived
China,
notions of like what China would
so
look
it's
like.
definitely good seeing someone out there.
Yeah, out
especially
there
someone
and
popular. For
explaining
sure.
it. Yeah, so yeah, no, for sure. But in terms of the new generations, and to conclude this this podcast episode, how do you think the new generation should be guided, or how can they be steered in a way where content creation, being an entertainer, is not the only avenue for you to make it in life and to make big money in life?
Honestly, I think that's just an issue we're gonna have moving forward. I think.
Is it a cultural issue?
Yeah, I think it's a cultural issue. I think just in North America, at least from what I know, I can't speak on other countries because I'm not there.
We're in North America, so we're gonna speak
I don't
on
know
this.
what they're teaching there, but from what I've seen is that even though school and education and stuff like that's preached in this side of the world, the bottom line is that we're a capitalistic society. So the main thing we focus on is trying to make money. So if you don't have to go to school and you can make money, you wouldn't go to school. If you can be an entertainer and not have to work, you'd be an entertainer. You know, so we always are just trying to figure out the easiest path to make the most money as well. So it's hard to kind of not have people having those aspirations because the younger generation, you're a child trying to become an adult. You don't want to work. You want to be leisurely, like Speed, like how he seems to be, right? He seems to be living life pretty leisurely. Doesn't sound like he's going home journaling and writing things down and ideas. Doesn't seem like keyword.
That false reality of not putting in any work,
efforts and any work is damaging.
It's definitely damaging.
So that's my point of it. That's why I said like this might be a problem because the fact of the matter is even with these streamers, we just see them put on their computer and be like, oh yeah, that's all they do is put on a computer and talk to people. It's just like podcasts. We can assume, oh, all they do is put on a camera and just talk. Like there's more to it. There's other parts you have to piece together. It's like a puzzle. You have to, make it work, right? So I think that not knowing the behind the scenes and them not exposing the behind the scenes is more dangerous. I think that if you're going to be a streamer, if you want to hold responsibility at least to tell other kids, because their thing is like, any kid can make it, but they know deep down inside any kid can't make it. It's almost like LeBron or one of these ball players be like, yeah, if you just believe and work hard, like they go to their camps and they're like, yeah, guys, if you keep training 5 days a week, like, no, you need talent, you need connections. What are you talking? Like, there's a lot.
That's
more
what I mean. There's a lot of nuances.
So that's the same thing for that. So
right?
That's my only thing about it is that, like, if I had a son, like, if I was talking about, if my son was looking at this and thinking about following somebody of this nature, and I seen him watching something like that, I would say to him, I'd be like, well, what else is he doing? Like, I would try and tell him, like, what does he do on the back end? Like, he obviously has to work. He obviously has to do this. He has to do that. So you always have to encourage the back end. I think the front end is too sexy. It's too appealing.
Yes.
And you forget about the work that has to be put in. So that's why I would say for the new generation, like, hopefully they don't get caught up in the bright lights. I think that, people have to really start being a little bit honest and be like, yo, okay, I made it as a streamer, but to be fair, it was a hard process. It took this luck and it took this. Be honest about how you made it. So at least kids have a reality check and like how to make it.
So I feel the same way when it comes to people that are in the entertainment business and that are streamers and so on and so forth. I feel like the only time they really say that they were in a jam when they were first in the industry or as a streamer is when they already made it.
Of course.
Right? They never talk about those issues when they're trying to make it. So people tend to believe that it was all, glitz and glamour as they got to the top,
peak,
right? You see them at their peak. They only show the highlight reel, so it gives a distorted reality,
Of course.
which people buy into, and then they believe that they don't need to put in the work to get to where they need to be. Because a lot of people overseas, like that come to these lands, to like foreigners that come and live here, the one thing that they always mention is how lazy North Americans are. That they don't want to put in no work. They don't want to sweat for anything. Even
That's
things
what I
that
mean.
they want, they don't want to put in any work
No
for it.
work
Even the
for
things that
anything
they want.
That's what I'm saying. It's a mentality.
It's a mentality, and there needs to be a
culture.
mentality switch. It's a cultural thing, right? Where you show all these things on television and people feel entitled that because they live in North America,
Shake
they're
weights.
entitled. Right?
Shake weights.
Yes, exactly. You'll get
Are you
abs in the
joking
next
me?
3
Yeah.
days.
What the
Like
hell are
just
you
this
talking
microwave,
about?
this
Yeah.
microwave culture of things just happen automatically. There's no work that needs to be put in. Oh, ladies, all you got to do is sell feet pictures and you'll make
Cheat code, buddy.
yeah,
Cheat code.
$100,000 for just taking pictures of your feet or
Well,
so
that's
on,
like the
right?
same thing of like OnlyFans, right? And going back to entertainment,
yes.
like if women, young women are seeing stuff like that, then they're like, wait, like why would I go to how much years of school to get how much paid?
Yes.
And this girl's making how much money?
Yeah.
You can get confused because the girls are not telling you the back end on how they get the money
distorted
or how
reality.
it affects their personal life or how it affects their family situation. Or sibling, whatever the case may be, that's not told. No one's gonna tell you the bad of it. Just like you want to hear, adult entertainer telling you about the bad sides of their job.
They only tell you the glitz
Women
and
gonna tell
glamour.
you, yo, you can get paid.
They won't even say that. They're just gonna show you glitz and glamour and the stardom factor. It's like, oh yeah, and then showing themselves being paid. But then when it's all said and done, now they're complaining, I was young. I had no idea what the industry was gonna do.
Exactly.
And they coerced me to do this, and it wasn't my fault. I had no idea what was going on.
So what I hope is that people that watch this, especially if you're younger, I think you have to separate these pseudo celebrities just like you'd separate a real celebrity. Almost like, not to say it's not achievable, but you have to understand that what they're showing you is not the true picture of what's going on. So you have to know that these guys are very much workaholics, very much
Meticulous to
in
detail.
what they do. And they do it for real. Like, they're not playing around. That's why they're successful.
It's craft. It's not.
So I think like people can't just think they can wake up one
You can't.
day.
Yeah, you can't
and
just
start
all
plug and play. It's not plug and
willy
play.
nilly. It doesn't work like that. Yeah,
Learn from us. It's not plug and play. You got to put in the hours. You got to put in the dedication.
Gotta get in the
Sometimes
reps.
lightning can strike, but we're not waiting for lightning. You got to work.
Exactly.
You got to work on yourself, work on your craft, and have a solid goal plan, worth ethic, and you can make it potentially to a level. Their level, that's shooting for the stars.
It's questionable. I mean, you could shoot for the stars, but you may just land on the moon.
Exactly.
And that's all we have for today. This Far From Normal podcast, and we are out. Deuces.
Peace.